Just a quick one before we dive in. I've just opened up 2 brand new ways to work with me. If you're an established beauty professional who's ready to increase your revenue, either in your clinic or by moving into the online mentoring and educational space, you can join me for a 2-month container where we build and validate your first online offer or your next big move. Or if you're ready to go all in, there is a 7-month private mentorship where we build, launch and scale your new revenue stream together. If you're not sure which one's right for you, I'm offering a handful of free business clarity calls, quick and powerful to map out your fastest path and to see which container fits best. Just DM me the word revenue on Instagram or check the link in the show notes and email me. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Beauty Build podcast with me, Zara King. As a coach for beauty pros, it is my mission to help you earn more, work less, and create an unstoppable mindset. This is the show where we explore all of that. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your beauty business, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us on the journey. And for more, get yourself inside my private community, The Beauty Build on Facebook. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. Today I'm joined by the gorgeous Lou from Milkshake Surrey, and I am super excited for you to have a little listen. She, if you don't know her, is a fantastic nail tech. She is a beauty therapist. She does semi-permanent makeup and she is just an absolute boss. I love her attitude when it comes to everything that we talk about today. She's a force, honestly, and if you don't follow her already, please do. You'll love her page. She is just hilarious on her reels as well as her work being incredible. So have a little listen. I know you're going to love it. So Lou, can you just give us a bit of an intro? Tell us who you are and how you got into the beauty industry.
Hi everyone. So I am Lou and I'm a mum of 2 girls. And back when I was pregnant with my second, me and my ex-husband split up. And at the time I was a stay-at-home mum. So I didn't like that fact. And I'd got into that comfortable thing of like, I'm now a stay-at-home mum, I'm being looked after, I don't need to do anything else. Whereas I had dreams and hopes and all of that back when I was younger. I mean, I was young when I had children and when I got married anyway, so it's a bit silly saying that. But before that, I had all these kind of hopes and dreams and stuff. And then I kind of like got married and had children. So I was like, oh, don't need to now, he's sorting it. Then when we split, I found myself in this area of like, oh my God, I can't just be a stay-at-home mum. That's like not, I could do it in a couple, but I couldn't do it by myself. So it threw me into this world of what can I do, and I knew that I'd always liked hairdressing when I was younger. And I never ended up doing it because I also wanted to be a midwife. So it threw me. My mum was like, no, you can't do both. Just go into, when you go into college, just go into something to do with that. And then that all flopped. So I was like, right, I'll go back to college and I'll be a hairdresser. So I ended up being a barber. And then I did that for 2 years. And then I started to like realise it's not actually that creative. And you're basically doing the same kind of haircuts day in, day out. So I was like, right, I don't like this. So I was like, well, how else can I make some more money and something that like I can throw myself into? And I started doing facials. So then I started learning all of that. And then as I was doing that, I would have my nails done, but they would fall off all the time. And I was like, I'm paying all this money to have my nails done and they're not working. So I thought, well, while I'm doing facials, I might as well go and do a nail course just for myself. And I did it and I was absolutely awful. Like I was all right doing myself, but I just awful. And I hated it. Like I hated every minute of it. But I was just like, well, I'm saving myself money. And then the facials went wild. And then I was like, oh, again, this isn't that creative. Like, oh, yeah, I'm doing facials. I do love skincare and I love to know everything about everything. And when I'm in something, I throw myself into it. And then I was like, right, well, I'm going to explore more of the nails because like, I don't like not being good at something. So I was like, I'm going to just throw myself into it. And that's when I come across like Builder, which I'd never known about before. And I was really intrigued by it. So I started doing that and I started doing it on clients and I was getting something like £10 a client because I just was like, I'm so crap at this. And then I kind of got better, but I would say lockdown made me.
Okay.
That gave me the time to really, I was doing all the art because I loved the art, but I didn't have a good structure with my nails. So the art looked crap because I wasn't good at the foundation of the nails. So in lockdown, I really took the time to do my own nails over and over again until I got it right. I mean, I'm still learning to this day, to be honest with you.
Mm.
And then, yeah, it just flew from there. And then I was, my name before was Evelyn Ray Beauty because it was both my girls' middle names put together. And then I was like, I don't like that. I want something that's a brand that I can, that as soon as somebody knows the name, they're like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Or I know exactly what that is. You know, when you hear Joe Malone or, you know, any of these kind of names, you know exactly what it is. And I just thought Evelyn Ray Beauty was a bit dull. And I didn't like the beauty. It was very like 90s, wasn't it? So like, I was like, I want to take all that away. And I had some like from friends and family, they were like, oh, like, no, how are they going to know that it's a beauty business? And I'm like, they're just going to know. Just going to know. And then, yeah, and they do in my local area. Majority of people do know who Milkshake Surrey is. So,
yeah, I mean,
Milkshake Surrey rather than my name because no one knows it.
it's mad. I feel like you've got that branding down. I really love it. And I remember thinking I came across you in around lockdown, I think. And yeah, I think Milkshake just completely stood out, and so did just your vibe on social media and everything. So I think, are you home based, by the way?
No, I was home based, and then I made the decision to move out in lockdown, September 2020. And yeah, I've got my own little space quite near to where I live, probably about 15 minutes, 20 minutes away. And I love it. I love Yeah, I love being out. I mean, it's harder because I can't do my own nails, or, you know, when you just want to practice and the kids are in bed. When I was home based, I could do that. I could go into my little home based salon and I could just, you know, work away. And that's what I was doing in lockdown. But it's harder when you're not doing it at home and you're somewhere else.
You've got to get out. It's good to get out, but then also it's got that double-edged, yeah. So can you tell us then, you're self-employed, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So can you tell us about the journey being self-employed and how you deal with the pros and the cons? Because I came across one of your pieces of content once about something similar to this. Really loved your take on it. So yeah, pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Yeah, I've struggled. I still struggle with it to this day, to be fair. And, you know, I love it when you look on people's profiles and they look like they've just got it, and they just, and you just think, oh, and I sometimes feel like I come across like that. And that's why I like to put across that I don't, because I think everyone, whether you're looking at somebody that's, you know, got 200k followers and they look like they've got their business right down to a key, I bet they don't. I bet they still have moments where they're like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is really stressing me out. The cons are you're battling yourself constantly on whether you put yourself first, whether you put your business first, whether you put your family first, whether you are making the right decisions within everything. You're constant in this like battle of trying to balance everything. And when you work for someone's telling you exactly right, you're coming in at this time, you're working till this time, you get paid this, you need to hit this target, your holidays, you have this many holidays, everything's already sorted for you. When you're self-employed, all of a sudden you're everything, your manager, your admin, your, you know, even down to the content of the business that we're in, content that you've got to do, and it's just can be so overwhelming. And I think that's a major con in being self-employed. You have moments where you're just swamped, and if you don't get your boundaries and your policies and everything strict, you're gonna fail at the first hurdle, and that's really difficult. The pros are I get to choose whatever the hell I want. If I want to charge this amount, I can charge this amount. If I want to take off next week and move all my clients, I can. If I want to do anything within the business, I can choose that. That's my decision. No one's telling me what I can and can't do. But that then does come with consequences. And that's where your balance has to be strong.
It does, yeah. I feel like with the pros and cons of self-employed, there are so many that could look like both, you know, because if you don't have the level of confidence that you need, the pro of being able to choose everything that you want but not having the confidence to do so can be the con. It's just like double-edged all the time, isn't it?
Majorly.
Yeah.
Like I battle with myself constantly because I am not this like a lot of my clients and my just I think people that follow think I'm very, very strong and I'm very strict and I'm very sort of got it all together. But inside I'm like, you know, I'm like panicking and worrying and what's that person going to think? And, you know, have I done this right? And you're constantly in this just battle of like, I feel like trying to please everybody and being a natural people pleaser, which some people don't actually know of me. I am behind the scenes. I'm constantly battling. I'm constantly, you know, when a client sends a message of, I don't know, they want their deposit back, let's just say, and you've got strict rules and policies of that. And meanwhile, you understand where they're coming from and you've probably built up a really strong relationship with them. You're also on the same breath of like, okay, well, who do I put first in that situation? Who's right in that situation? What do I do? And because you are then the one it falls on, in the sense you've got nobody else to go to. You're the manager. You're the decider. You've nowhere to go with it, but just be, you know, almost have some balls and just go and do it. But someone's going to get upset. Someone's going to have an issue at some point during your business. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And when you accept that, and you kind of, I mean, it's hard for me. I'm quite a confrontational person. So sometimes I have to fight that sort of where you want to sort of be like, no, I'm right. You have to kind of go in this way of, look, I completely understand where you're coming from. And I'd like to do that. But at the same time, I can't, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that where, obviously, I know that you're a mum and I'm a mum and I get that it's all really challenging to balance the mum life and the business life. So what you've just said there means that you're super strong and all the rest of it, but then there's got to be a time where you're effectively trying to manage the time for the business and it's super, super strict and important as well. But then, you know, you've got to prioritize the family. So how do you balance that? Because sometimes you're probably going to have to put the girls first over the business and the family first.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel having to balance those situations where the business does have to go, right, this decision isn't for the business today? Like sickness, for example, you know, when the girls might be sick, or my kids are sick, and we have to balance that situation where it's that challenge comes up and it's like business or family right now. What do I do? How do you get around all of that?
To be honest with you now, and it's horrible to say, this now because I would never have thought it was not this way before, but when I was first starting out the business was the be all and end all. I put the business before, I wouldn't say completely before my children, not at all. They were always looked after and they were always sorted, and you know, their well-being and all of that, and then, you know, was always sorted. But when I'd say about sort of sitting on my phone in an evening and it was constantly you know, I'm doing work, or as working as many hours as I possibly could, because I had this thing in me that I needed to prove not only to myself, but slightly due to the situation that happened with my ex-husband, that I can do this. I put the business first. So, and what happened with that is that my youngest, we're currently going through autism diagnosis, and it forced me into a situation where I had to put them first. So it's almost, I'm very spiritual, so it was almost like the universe was saying to me, we're going to make you do it now. You're not listening. I'm putting all these blockers in your way. You're not listening. So now I'm going to make you. So I got ill. I was stressed. I was having bad headaches, migraines, because I'm like running like this, and everyone who knows me, I'm always busy, but it forced me to slow down and forced me to realize that, what am I doing this all for? What is the reason behind it? And it should have always been for my children, you know. And at first it was like, I'm proving to them that you don't need a man, and you don't, you know, you can build anything you want from nothing. You know, I was in a bad way when it all happened, and I built this up from nothing. And that's what, because of the whole situation with Blossom, it then forced me into a situation where it was like, no, this is, you need to have a good balance here. Like, you haven't got a good balance. You're all over the place. You know, I'd be dropping them to here, then picking them up, then going back to work, bringing them with me. And it got to the point where it was like, I'm sitting doing nails, I'm looking over, and my daughter's just sat on a phone. And I was like, I can't do this. So it forced me to only now work 2 to 3 days a week in order to fit it round them, and to also mean that I can take a bit of a backseat and just, you know, if I need to do content, I've got a day for that. If I need to do admin, I've got a day for that, because Blossom only goes part-time to school. She doesn't do a full day. So I've had no other choice, but it's been the best thing. It's been the best thing, because it's made me look and think, you was pushing yourself too much, but for what? Because you had no quality of life. All I was doing in my spare time was either running around doing mum stuff, but not quality, or working. That was it. There was no free time. And I've now put them first. So I've been forced to do it, but it's been the best thing. And that's really important. And when I see so many mums doing that and feel so guilty for it, it upsets me, because I think with society, we're made to feel like we need to do it all. It doesn't work.
I know. And I've been there as well, because my husband used to work 6 days a week. And you know, that meant that I was working a full-time job, and I was mobile. Then I went into salon. Then I had anyway, long story short, he used to work a hell of a lot, and I felt like a single mum, you know. And, you know, because he'd be working on the Saturdays when you'd normally spend that with family. And I know exactly where you're coming from when you feel like, in fact, it's giving me tingles and it's making me emotional, because I actually still, to this day, and I should practice what I preach more, but I still tell my kids, I'm doing work, you know.
Oh, we all have
that. It's making me feel like, oh, but does it make you feel that way? Does it make you feel like the way it's making me feel?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I literally cannot believe that I was in that mindset of just like constantly that the business was more important almost. And even though if I would have spoken to somebody, that wouldn't have been the case. It would have been, oh no, like, you know, they are put first. But my actions didn't look that way at all. But because we are trying to do it all, and no one should feel guilty. I used to hate the fact I was a stay-at-home mum. I hated it. And then I looked down on people that were stay-at-home. I thought, oh my God, how can you even do that? But now I've got a total different outlook on it. And I think it is very important to have that major balance of not feeling guilty for when you are working, because, you know, I speak to a lot of mums that are like, I can't be a stay-at-home mum. I can't, like, it's just, I've done it for my maternity leave and it killed me. But at the same time, they're like, you know, my boss wants me to work this many days and I'm struggling. That, you know, that's the good thing about self-employment. You can choose to balance it. And even though to some people, you know, I'd sometimes like to work more than I do, but I physically can't. And mentally I can't, because my home and personal life is quite, I don't want to use the word draining, but it's hard and challenging. And if I kept up that same routine, I don't know where I'd be. I probably in a mental institute somewhere, because it was just too difficult. And yeah, now, you know, I'm not always making good choices. There are times where I do fall out of my boundaries, and I do fall out of, you know, things like that. But that's natural. We're all going to do it. We're not perfect, but it's then going, right, okay, I need to go back to, you know, I've seen where I've or I'm doing work, or, you know, I'm totally zoned into content and stuff. I have days I can do them on, and it's make choices to not do it, because you'll think, oh, I'm just going to watch, while the kids are at school, I'm going to watch a bit of Netflix or something. You could have been doing that, but then it's also trying to realize that you also do need that that balance for yourself, because otherwise you're either just mum or just working. That doesn't work either.
The mum guilt is massive for me, and I feel like because I've been doing this just for so long, and I'm still having babies, right? I'm still my youngest is 1, so it's a massive thing for me, the mum guilt. But I'm the same as the people that you've spoken to that cannot just be stay-at-home mum. And in our relationship and in our traditional like cultural side of things, because my husband's Pakistani, and the cultural side of things would be I wouldn't work. So for me personally, it's like such a pull and a push all the time. And I love what you've said, because you sound like you've got it going in a great place. Now, I know it's like not perfect, but that's the thing. It never is going to be, is it? So do you have some sort of like top tips for any beauty business owners that are out there literally navigating the demands of the mum life and the business life?
My top tips would be, have your particular days for you doing your content. If you've got children that are old enough to understand, you know, when you do need, because there are going to be moments where you do need to, that it's not going to be a case of I'm only going to respond on a Monday to people, or I'm never going to be on my phone. I mean, some people might be able to do that. I can't, because I've lost clients through not responding, because where I'm only doing 2, 3, 5, I could only respond on a Monday. It's not going to work, because nobody's going to wait up. If they message you on a Tuesday, they're not going to wait a whole week to get booked in with you. So that doesn't always work. But recognizing that, you know, you're explaining to your child, obviously some are too young to understand, but I've got old enough children to say, I just need to respond to this, and then you've got my full attention. And being strict with that, as much as you're strict with your policies in your business, you've got to be strict in your home life, recognizing of when it's time to work and when it's time to spend time with your children, and give them that full quality attention like you do your clients. You're not on your phone whilst you're doing your clients, you are with them and present. So give your children the same respect as that. That would be my top tip. I mean, I haven't got like many top tips.
Even just saying that, like, you know, full attention and things, people will remember that. And you know, you only have to hear certain things in a different way sometimes for things to click. And that's why on this podcast, I feel like some topics, they're going to be just, you know, they're always going to be repeated. And then someone might hear something from you, for example, that they didn't get from me. So I love it. That's why I ask, like, what if you could narrow it down, what are the top tips? So I love what you said. Thank you so much. What I wanted to ask you as well, because we've just touched on it, the boundaries, right? We speak this same language, don't we?
Boundaries.
We literally love our boundaries. So boundaries and policies for me come into play together in beauty businesses, in any sort of like self-employed business anyway. So I believe, you know, it's crucial. We have to have it to maintain what we're talking about, that healthy work-life balance and that structure. So what would you say is most important when it comes to establishing what they are and then enforcing them into the business?
So when I first started the business, I had policies and boundaries straight away, to be honest with you. Some people don't. And I think that's a big mistake. A lot of people do because they just kind of, I think you have to go into this mindset of like, oh, I'm new to it. I'm a small business. So, you know, I'm just going to flow with it and see where it takes me. But because I had loads of beauty treatments done and I have a lot of friends within sort of the beauty business, I realised there were certain things that was happening to them, like, for instance, booking fees. They weren't taking them. So they were getting a lot of cancellations. They were getting lots of people trying to move their appointments all the time, no shows. And I thought, I'm not having that. That's not happening to me. So my first sort of boundary and policy was booking fee. As small as it was at the time, it was something like £10. And then as I went on, I realised that wasn't enough, because some people would just let £10 go. £10 enough to someone. Mm-hmm. And so then I upped it. And then since getting the booking system, I changed that to 50%, because it was the amounts I was charging, it was coming up with sort of silly amounts. It was halving it, and it would do something like, you know, £32.50, which if someone's paying cash, it's a bit of a pain. So I changed it to 50% so that would, you know, just round it up kind of thing. And I rarely have cancellations. And that then followed on to my cancellation policy, which was, it started off at 24 hours, which I know a lot of people have, but I don't agree with that. I think 24 hours is silly. Somebody messages you and cancels the day before, that does not give you enough time to get anyone in. And so I changed mine to 72, which is 3 days.
Amazing.
Because that does give me enough time to get somebody in. And either way, my client, whether I get somebody in or not, they still have to pay 100% of their policy, of their appointment. And a lot of people might think that's really strict and really like, you know, thingy, but that's where I'm strong and strict within my business. That's what my business head goes on of, no, hold on a second. I'm running a business. I'm not running a charity. You know, I see a lot of hairdressers where they've got an actual salon on a, you know, they've got their own storefront kind of thing. And that's expensive alone as it is, running costs of that. And they've got people not turning up for a treatment that's probably £200. That's a lot of money to miss out on. And I bet your bottom dollar, if you had a cancellation policy where they still had to pay that money, they wouldn't cancel. So those are my, you know, and I've also got things like lateness policies. It's the same. If they're 10 minutes late or over, they pay the full amount. Right. Because again, 10 minutes knock it into the next client. The next client is then eating into your lunch, is then eating to your going home, picking up the kids. You know, I've had many occasions where I then am late to picking up my children. And if they're in after school club, that's then cost me money. And it's just this massive knock-on effect. And you have to constantly sit there and think, you know, you could have a client that you absolutely adore and they never usually are. And I have moments where I'm like, I'll let that go. The first time doing it, I'll let it go. But next time, can you? But I'm telling you now, it still kills me to this day to have to enforce those policies when I have to really knuckle down and be strict. And I have to enforce them, and then someone battles me on it. It is soul destroying for me. Like I am a natural people pleaser. It's taken a lot for me to get to this stage where I'm like, no, this is my boundary. You are crossing the boundary and I'm not allowing it. You have to. And yeah, I do to this day still struggle with it. I absolutely cringe inside when I've got to send the email that you owe this amount of money because you haven't turned up. And I sometimes question it. I think, am I being unfair? I have to snap back into business mode. Nope. No. These are my policies. These are my boundaries. You knew it from when you booked in. You've known it all along. And then you have to just sort of talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. Got to give yourself a pep talk. I think that when you get it agreed upon booking, that's the main thing, isn't it? If they haven't agreed to anything, then I'm sorry, but you can't enforce and it's your fault.
Yeah.
That's the long and short of it. But if you're doing what you're doing and they agree up front, then absolutely you should be strong. Can I ask you, how have you got to that level of feeling like strength? Like have you been a self-employed person prior to this business, or have you had any other confidence stuff? Do you work on your mindset? What is it?
No, I've never been self-employed before. I think you're making me go deep now. I think from being I was bullied in school, and I was a yes person to everything. You know, my opinions would change depending on who I was around. If they said, oh no, they didn't like that colour, I didn't like it either, even though I just previously said yes, I did. And when you get into then a business, you get to a point where you're like, I can't actually, the business isn't sustainable being like this. And also then when I went into sort of college, I built up more strength and more confidence to tell people no. And just in normal everyday life, or, you know, in relationships and things like that, I'd got into a situation where I could be a bit more stricter with my boundaries, but I still wasn't fully. And I think the business has then thrown me into, you have to, otherwise this isn't going to work. I do a lot of mindset, and I do So because I'm very spiritual and stuff like that, I have manifestations and things like that. So if there's anything I'm struggling on, I will put that into my manifestations, my daily manifestations that I'm sort of putting on. So one of them is self-confidence. And I think just having the business has had to force me and make me be more confident, because otherwise I get hurt in it, you know, as in the business, not, and sometimes personally you get hurt because you think people can be disrespectful and people will behave how you allow them to behave. So if you allow them to get away with something constantly, they will get away with it. So I'd say the business has forced me mostly into just being more confident with, right, this is my boundary, this is my policy, and you have to just stick with it.
I love it. Ugh. If everyone had that confidence to do it, it would be great, honestly. And I think with you specifically, it seems that this business has to work, right? Whereas we're in an industry where not for every business owner is that the case, because this is an industry that people come into as a bit of a thing that they do, as a thing on the side and all this. And, you know, it's hard to say, but I wish that wasn't the case, you know. And I love the people that do it like that because they're nice people. Great. But I have an issue with the fact that the industry has a lot of that going on. So therefore, the clients that are coming up against people like you and I, who would be like, you've got to pay 100% of that. They'll be like, well, why isn't so-and-so doing that? And it's like, because she doesn't rely on this as an income or whoever it is. And that's such a problem. Anyway, thank you, because you've actually shared the specific policies and strategies that you actually have. So I really appreciate you going into depth with that. What I was going to say to you is there any sort of like challenges that you faced in putting yourself in the business first, that you've had to, that really kind of you've had to overcome, like specifically?
I'd say I had a long-standing client and they cancelled on quite a few occasions. They cancelled an appointment and then remade a new one. And because I was quite close with them, I thought, well, I'm going to advise them of the first appointment needs to be paid for when I see them on the second. And then that got cancelled. And when it came to me sending, you know, and I was battling with myself constantly of, do I send this policy, you know, and this is recent. So, you know, I've been so strong for this time and I've had no problems with majority of people. And then you come up and face someone who you kind of never thought that would, and you're being questioned and you're having to explain yourself. And then you start thinking, oh my God, should I just not go through with this? What actually is my sort of backup with this, you know, like, am I right to do this? And then you're like, then you have to go back to another, you know, when you speak to sort of family and friends and they're like, no, you know, you need to stand by this. This is your, if you allow it for one, then you've got to allow it for everyone. And that's not fair, you know. And if everyone did what this particular client is doing, you'd have no business. So, you know, you'd have no money, you know, how do you pay for, you know, your life? And I had to come up against that and battle it and sort of, you know, and then it sort of throws you, like I said to you before, I'm very sort of, can be quite argumentative. But in that situation, I had to be very professional. And it was like, no, you know, you've already been made aware of my policies. When you book on my system, it comes up, you have to tick it, agree to it. And you've agreed to this. Therefore, you need to pay. And yeah, I got paid in the end, but I lost them out of it. And it's a situation like that you've got to kind of choose. But that's a battle. That's a battle and that's a challenge you have to face. That wasn't the first and it's not going to be the last. But remaining true to myself is more important, and remaining true to my business is more important than unfortunately losing a client.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's such good advice for anyone listening that has these struggles all the time. A, it's never going to stop, right? B, you have to be strong. You just have to keep telling yourself that the reason you're doing it is because of X, Y, and Z. sometimes I actually think it's really worthwhile hyping yourself up before you send things and do things with a kind of, these are the reasons why, like 10 reasons why this is absolutely the best thing for you and your business, and ultimately the client, because the client's going to like learn something out of this as well.
100%. And the thing is as well, that's when it comes into play of having a community of other people in the same position. And I've got a lot of strong women entrepreneurs in other businesses, not just beauty. They also kick me into touch if I'm having a little bit of a moment where I'm wobbling, and we do it for each other. Sometimes I've got she's one of my best friends, and she's got a really, really sort of massive business, and she's really strong, and she has moments where she wobbles, and and she's like, oh my God, this isn't working, or that's not working, or this, what do I do about this client? And I'm giving her advice. I'm like, what? But you have those moments. Everyone, no matter what stage you are, you could have somebody that's a CEO in London who's got getting billions in, and I bet you any money they still have moments where they're like, oh, this decision, should I be making it? What's am I right to? And you have that kind of imposter syndrome where you're like, how have I got the right to? But then you just keep going, you're like, no, I'm a boss bitch, I can do this.
Yes, I love it. Just so good. So when you come to pricing your services correctly, right, this is another essential for the success of any business, but obviously beauty business as well. So how did you determine the pricing structure, and what advice can you give to people that are struggling to price their services? Because this is huge at the minute across the board in the industry.
It's draining my soul.
Same.
So to begin with, I just kind of, at first I was charging my worth. So when I say I was charging £10, that's what I thought I was worth, because they were shoddy. They were absolutely awful. And then once I'd got sort of up and running a bit more, I think I started to look at locally what people were charging. And then during lockdown, when I had the kind of community, we all built our little communities and met more sort of nail techs and stuff, and finding out what they're kind of charging. And obviously they're in certain areas, and being in Surrey, it's quite almost as much as London, really. You can charge. Then it went more into, right, okay, well, what am I actually worth? So even in the beginning, I'd sort of done my worth. Then it was kind of, well, what is everyone charging? And then it was back to, well, no, what am I worth? Because I use the best quality products that's costing me so much money. My clients always have the top quality products. And I'm constantly training. I'm constantly sort of learning new skills and trying to better my service, trying to upgrade my service. So it's silly to then not charge extra for that and be like, hold on a minute. I've been this price for this long, not once put it up. I think the last time before I've recently just put it up, I put it up lockdown. That's 2020. We're now 2023 and I hadn't once put it up. And let me tell you, I lost clients from it. And it was, to me, still quite a small proportion. And I still did have a backlash from it. And that made me question, oh my God, have I done the right thing? And then you go into this stage of, because you are a business, because you are there for the world to see, you've put all the prices up, you're like, I can't put them down now. You do have those moments where you question, you think, should I put them down? But then I was listening to one of your other podcasts where you're discussing sort of in America and all these others, and they're charging, $150 for one set of nails, and we're still charging £30. And it's like,
there was a comment the other day in a group for techs that was about how much would you charge for these, and it was like a £42 set, but they were stunning. And I mean, my infill price was 45 minimum, so my I would have been way above with all that artwork. But everyone was commenting, and I tell you what, without like being rude, but some people, they need to give their heads a wobble. They really do. And anyone listening to this, don't come at me. I completely will always stick by myself when I say, stop telling other freaking techs to put prices down or that they're charging too much. Stop doing that because of your own insecurities.
I'm shouting at whoever's listening that may or may not have done that. Stop it. Because it's an inside insecurity if somebody else is doing that. But there was this thread and it was full of it. And I thought, please, somebody stop the comments. Like, if that was my group, those comments would have been stopped and shut down, because that's not the vibe that you need in the industry. I know I've completely digressed there, sorry. But it riles me. It really riles me.
Me too. And that's then a reflection on your clients, because your clients are seeing this. Because I've got a lot of clients that are really into the nail industry themselves, in the sense of they watch the top people there. That's where they're getting their inspo to give to me, or, you know, and they're watching this, and they're watching the comments, and sometimes they come in and they know more about it than I do, and I'm an nail tech, you know, and they're not, because they're just so into it. And then they're seeing that, and it's soul destroying for us, because that's what they're being shown. And they, you know, obviously someone's always going to want to get something for cheaper, unless we start making it normal for the fact that, well, this is top quality. You go and get a top quality car, you're paying bigger money for it than you are if you go and get a lower quality car. Like, that's just normal, you know. But it's not normal in nails. It's like, well, you know, the nail bar down the road is doing it for £20 a full set. Go there and
enjoy.
Enjoy. Yeah, sure as hell you'll be back. Because, you know,
was it. There was someone commenting saying that they were from America as well, because I'm bringing it back to that point you made about Americans. Someone saying they would charge about $250 for this particular set, and obviously the lady would charge about $40.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, like, okay, fantastic. But then there were other people in America saying, God, it would only be 100. But even then, the prices still look higher. And they still suffer with, I say suffer with, because it is like a disease, the NSS, you know, the non-standard salons, they suffer with that out in America too. But they've got that kind of like, this is my craft, this is my artwork, you know. Whereas in the UK, for some reason, we're way behind on that. We're way behind on thinking this is an art form when you do it correctly. I could be here all day talking about pricing.
I sometimes feel like, though, with America, because of the kind of style, I'm not saying all, because obviously I've seen the normal natural. I feel like sometimes what the client's seeing is worth more to them than what they actually realise goes into it. You know, because they're seeing these long nails with gems and so much artwork on it, they are sometimes think, well, that's worth it. You know, they would probably say, yeah, okay, that is worth it. I struggle with that sometimes I think that, you know, you might look at a set of nails and a client might think, well, all you've done is painted me a French, so why should I, you know, but they don't know the work that's gone in to get them that French perfect, to get it, you know, all the different styles of French that you might have learned, the products that you're doing to execute that, you know, just because it's looking like it's extravagant.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there's that thing of, oh, well, you know, in America it's the way it looks more than, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do feel you on that. And it's interesting because not many people have brought that up. And I think it depends on, I know, like the stereotypical type of nails that you're talking about, like the long length, all the glitz and the glam and the sequins and the sparkles and the gems. I just think, yeah, you might be right that people are thinking that. But again, it's about bringing it back to the value, isn't it? It's like you said, you know that what you're worth at the time, your skill set kind of thing. You then look at the market and you can't outplace yourself as such, but you don't have to charge what anyone in your area charges. And then you go back to what's it actually costing you as a person? Like you said before, you know, it's like your quality products. And I think the price is what you pay, the value is what you get, you know, and they can be completely different. And that's what you've got to communicate to people, isn't it? And not just clients, but in the industry too.
Yeah. And a lot of my clients, I mean, my dad said it to me quite a lot. He said, you know, Lou, even though they're coming to you for your nails and what you can provide, they're also coming to you for you. You know, so you could have a nail tech. I've had quite a few people come in before, and their nail tech, they don't speak to them. They come in, they do the service, and the nail tech doesn't speak, apart from what design do you want or what colour do you want. And maybe there might be the odd, how are you, how's things? But after that, it's done with. And I like to think, you know, I provide some sort of comedy, maybe laughing at my own life, or but yeah, sometimes there's that factor as well. They're coming to you for you, and you've got to have confidence in that of you're also the service. It's not just what you're providing, it's you as well. Not to say that people can't, if a nail tech doesn't want to speak and things like that, but a lot of my clients would say that, I love coming to you, you make me feel so comfortable. I've had other nail techs that I don't feel like that, and that's why it's funny about the NNS salons. You're not always getting that, too scared to say anything, what they actually want, actually what they come out with, and it's like I'm still confused as to why are you paying for that just because it's quick or just because it's cheap. I'll never understand that.
I think, first of all, it's value is completely individual for everybody, isn't it? Value perception is huge. I think there's an episode on that, I think. Now, I feel like I don't value certain things as highly as other things. So my beauty things, of course I do, because I'm a beauty therapist and I've always been into that type of thing anyway. Yeah. If you're in this industry and you're not valuing our industry because you don't spend money on it, I think, what you're doing, you know what I mean? I think that's where some of the problems lie. Yes. And obviously it's the same for clients. You're going to go after one client who's going to value it a hell of a lot, and then you're going to go after another client who it would be the first thing that they drop off their to-do list if they had a bad month.
Yeah.
So there's that spectrum to it, isn't there? You need to be going out for the ones that value this stuff, value this as their priority, and will pay for it. And they'll pay for the extra service and the things that make them feel good. Because some people, if they're not valuing it enough, that stuff to them is crap. Doesn't matter. They're like, it doesn't matter. I just want painted nails. Or lashes, brows, facials, whatever. Like, oh, I just want this. They don't want all the extra. And that's fine. It's not a problem. We're not trying to convince people that this is the best thing, but it's going for the ones that do already know and have a level of awareness, and then convincing them even more that it's special,
Exactly. I think as well, I've had a lot of sort of family members and that sort of question what I charge, and even sometimes friends, they question what they charge, or they're not questioning from their point of view, but they're like, oh, will people pay that? And my argument is always, well, I'm not aiming for the people that can't, I'm aiming for the people that can. I hear a lot, because I am a big manifester, it's all about sort of not, whenever you put something negative or positive into the universe, that's what you get back, basically. And I hear a lot of people nowadays talking about, oh, my gas and electric, or my petrol prices. My point of it has always been, well, you're always still going to pay it, so I don't understand why you're still talking about it. There's no point talking about it negatively, because you're still gonna, whether petrol prices go up, you've still got a car, you've still got to run it, you're still going to pay it. And I don't, because I can pay for it, and you've got people that can pay for it, you don't necessarily moan about it. So when it comes down to sort of the services I provide, I want to be aiming for the people that isn't ever going to be an issue. They want to pay it, like you say. They think it's special, they think it's amazing, because it is. And they see the value like we do, so that's why they're going to pay for it. You don't want to be aiming for the people that are going to constantly question you the prices.
And that's it. I think people need to get comfortable as well with the fact that it's not ripping people off. I think this, we're recording today, but this is going to be coming out on Halloween. But today, I think the episode that comes out is about boundaries and policies, and I think I might have touched on some of these bits that we're talking about, which is interesting. So if anyone's listening this week, go back to last week's as well and binge, because you'll get a real solid Lou and Zara telling you what to do about boundaries, policies, and pricing. It's about focusing what's in your control, focusing on what's in your control, isn't it? I'm not probably as big in the manifestation stuff as you are, but I'm very much still law of attraction, mindset work, all of the rest of it. And I think it's a form of like self-care, isn't it? Do you find that? How do you look after yourself and, prioritize your self-care? Let's move on, shall we? To something.
Go on about it for hours and moan. Self-care looks different for everyone. It's not just about having beauty treatments done, although I do have beauty treatments. I was at one point having massages done every week, because in the industry we're in, I've constantly got backache and issues. So making sure that is, for me to relax and things like that. And, I had my eyelashes done and I do my own nails. But also self-care for me is also about taking time for me and actually what I want to do. If I want to go for a walk on my own without the children and nothing to do with the business, and I just want to put, a podcast in and go for a walk, and, then that's something that's huge for me. Taking time, I think just putting myself first. I don't put myself first enough. It's either business, children, or everyone else. And self-care for me is just putting what do I want to do? What is good for me at this moment? What takeaway do I want to have? What, dinner do I want to have today? Or where do I want to go today? Rather than, and we can, as mums and, business owners, we can not always do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's just huge for me. It's just sort of self-care for me is just massively thinking about myself and being selfish.
Yeah, it's not selfish, but like doing that selfish act, like that one thing for yourself. I get it. I just it reminds me of the bath that I had last night, and I wasn't interrupted, and it was an absolute dream. It's little things, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Just taking time out for yourself. And even I used to read quite a lot, and I rarely do now, but even just having those moments just to be able to read and just have time for myself, even just being in my flat without the children and with nothing, no clothes to put away or no housework to do, is self-care for me.
I love it.
It's like, I go on private jets and
yeah, that's not us, not yet.
Mine's just being on my own.
Yeah, literally. Mine's kind of like writing in my diaries and like what are they called, planners and stuff. I'm like, if I can just get my head down.
That same one, the one you've just behind you, the green one. Yeah,
have you? Yeah. I'm a sucker for, I do have a lot of different planners, and that's a self-care journal, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got, they're all mine's right by my bed, loads of them the same, and loads of self-care books.
yeah, I love it. And I just think it's so important to put yourself first. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. It's either business or it's mum, isn't it? And it's just, do you know what I do? I put in my schedule, I color code it, so that if I look at it at a week's glance and it's color coded and self-care is like whatever color, I'll know how often I'm fitting it in. And if it's like non-existent, then I'm like, give myself a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, be really strict with it, and or not strict with it, but I used to be really sort of consistent with it, and that's kind of recently is failed a little bit. So I definitely need to, I'm constantly being reminded, and this now reminded me again. So I need to enforce that more. But I like that idea. It's good.
Do it. I'll check in. So I really like to get into business on this podcast, as you can tell, because we've just had our rant. But I also really love to brighten people's days and let them know as well that they can't take themselves too seriously in the industry. So can you tell us about a time that was either funny or embarrassing that you've grown from during the time that you've run Milkshake Surrey?
I'm not sure I've grown from it, but basically, before I had I was running my own business at the same time as, once I was qualified, I went into a salon because I wanted to see how they were running, and if I could get any pointers from it, and how to manage a salon, etc. Even though I was technically doing my own, at this particular salon, they didn't have hard wax. They only had strip, but they were still doing full sort of Hollywood waxing. And I wasn't used to that at all, because I was used to doing it with hot wax.
Yeah.
And I had this woman come in. She was probably about in her 60s. She'd never had a wax done before. She was going to France and she wanted the whole lot off. And I'd only just at this point qualified, and still wasn't, when you're dealing with the intimate area, I'm still not 100% with it all. And also I was using a different wax, and now all of a sudden I'm having to do strip wax, which, for anyone that actually doesn't know what that's about, it's just putting the wax on and then you put a strip over the top, wax it off. Hard wax is you can put it all on, it dries hard slightly, flexible, and you can just then pull it. But anyway, I started off doing my usual routine of the outside of it. We got to the more sort of inner parts, and she flung herself off the bed. Bearing in mind she was screaming the whole time of every little bit I was doing. She flung herself off the bed with the wax still on and stuck herself together. I literally wanted to die. It was the most awful, you know, my heart was going. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't get any help because obviously, you know, I can't at this point. I can't go out of the room and start getting my manager in or whatever. So I had to just try and get this wax off. And it hit a stage where I couldn't get it off. Like I couldn't. So I just had to say to her, I can only get off as much as I can, but she was basically stuck together.
I love it. I love wax stories. They're my favourite because I did all of that in salon as well. I would be the one that they'd call just for a Hollywood wax. Like I'd be on my maternity leave, and they'd be like, Zara, we've got a holiday, and I'm like, no. But obviously we use hard wax. So
in you know, my salon, I use hard, and I love doing and that's another thing I've delved into how to do it, because after that it destroyed me. I was like, I can't do this ever again. This is awful. And I just felt like it was me, like I wasn't getting it right, and I was like, but I'm using the wrong wax. And yeah, now obviously I absolutely love it because I've like gone into it sort of more. But yeah, I try to make the client, it's embarrassing for a client, to be honest with you. I know what it's like to have wax done myself. So to get on with a new person and bare your intimate soul to them, it's like really embarrassing, and you have to be comfortable and stuff, and to remain professional. Situation is really hard. You know, inside I was dying, but I had to just continue. I was like, it's gonna be fine. Put a bit of wax remover on, it's fine.
See, I love it. If anyone was having a bad day, there you go.
Oh my God, yeah, I do love the wax stories as well. I've got many of other people's, you know, stories. You know.
There's so many. I just think it's good, isn't it? Lighten the mood, and just remember that there are just going to be things that happen along the way, and you have grown from that because now you're a boss at doing wax. Hard wax. You like it again. So, okay, cool. So what does the future look like now for Milkshake Surrey? Tell us.
Future for Milkshake Surrey. So I'm in a place where I want to be in a place of, I want consistency at the moment, because with everything that's happened with Blossom and home life, I haven't had consistency because things change all the time with her. So my first thing is consistency, because with consistency becomes growth. So the growth part of that is I'd like to have somebody else working with me in the salon, and I then want to be able to get another room, because I'd like to have, you know, I do semi-permanent makeup as well as wax and all of that stuff, and I'd like to have a separate room that's sort of more like a spa therapy room than it being in all together kind of thing. And then I've just got sort of my nail room and then sort of therapy room. So that's my sort of in the near future goals. Long term, take over the world, you know, make Milkshake Surrey the biggest brand there is out there.
I love it. What are you going to do with Milkshake Surrey brand? Is it going to stay like the beauty side of things, or are you thinking of anything else?
No, at the moment it is. I think we touched on earlier about Milkshake Dolls, which is the that was basically going to be products and like sort of a lot of different things. It was going to be sort of clothes and things like that. But with everything that then ended up happening, where I was getting the products from and stuff, there was one of my clients was doing something similar, but with regards to children. And she was helping me along the way, and then it sort of crashed a little bit, so I retracted a little bit at the moment. And there is some plans. It's not going to be Milkshake Dolls. I've shut that down. Obviously I've still got the Instagram, but I am looking into, I really want sort of natural, I've gone down this road of natural products. Really want people to start using natural products, because I really truly believe, I know you know, in my everyday, and even with regards to nails, it's not possible completely, but with regards to cuticle oils and lotions and scrubs and things like that, I think it's really important that you're what you're putting on your skin is natural, because our skin is absorbing it, and just kind of that road really, to be honest. But when I've got time.
Yeah, when you've got some more time.
Overload myself.
I think that sounds like a great idea though. I love the natural stuff. I really do, because I used to use all of the Arbonne products that preach all of that stuff, literally, you know, because we absorb it. And then I learned all about the fact that just everything that the skin absorbs and how quick it absorbs everything, but I fell back into my old habits. So if you do have a new line come out, you'll have to let me know. I love it so much. So Lou, can we finish up with you telling everybody please where they can find your lovely face, your lovely work? Where are you at?
I am at Milkshake Surrey on Instagram, or just Milkshake Surrey on Facebook.
Fabulous. Keeping it simple. That is perfect.
Nice and simple.
Yay. Right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have loved chatting to you. I'm hoping that the listeners have made notes and they're going to go out there and be strong. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights that will help you in your beauty business and life. If you did, please take a screenshot and tag me in your stories. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me on any of my socials. The links are always in the descriptions. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you more and more great content. Until next time, keep building that business.